Hey, what's up guys, it's MugenLord here, and today we want to talk about Chrono Trigger. Yes, that's right, Chrono Trigger. It's been a while since we talked about Chrono Trigger here on this channel. I believe the last time we discussed Chrono Trigger was during the Fighter Pass reveal of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and how I was vouching for Chrono to make it in the game. Now that just recently, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has finally wrapped up its final content, which was the Sora amiibo and many other updates and patches that they had for the game. Is finally done, and we already know the end results. Chrono never made it into the game, but can we dream? Well, just recently, Chrono Trigger was mentioned again, just a couple of days ago, and Yoshinori Kitase have gave his thoughts and opinions after he was asked, would there ever be a remake to Chrono Trigger? So, before we dive into this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive right into it. It's from an article from Noisy Pixel. And it's not really much to say at all, but I wanted to just bring this up so we can have a discussion about it. So it says Square Enix seeks fan input for a Chrono Trigger remake. In a recent podcast of My Perfect Console, the host Simon Parkin had the opportunity to have Yoshinori Kitase from Square Enix on his show. In this episode, the host talked about Kitase's past as a game developer, including some of Kitase's favorite games during his childhood. But one of the topics discussed was regarding a potential remake of the fan-acclaimed Chrono Trigger. When approached with the topic, Kitase says there are three routes for a Chrono Trigger remake, those being a port, a graphical remaster, or a remake with the same scope as the currently ongoing Final Fantasy VII Remake project, and asking for fan input in which path should be taken when remaking the game. So, if you have access to the podcast, you'll be able to hear the whole entire thing in context. But what we have here is that, and I've talked about this before when it comes to Square Enix. Square Enix is looking to go back in their past catalog and start remaking some old or remastering some of their older IP. We already seen it when it comes to Live Alive remake. Enjoyed the hell out of it. I did a review on it. You can definitely go check that out. Loved it. And then of course after Nier Automata got popular, they went back and pretty much did a remaster of Nier Replicant, which people also love that game as well. But we're starting to see a lot of their older games starting to creep back up and starting to resurface, and I'm loving every last bit of it, especially when it came to Star Ocean Second Story R. That also had got a remake, which was highly acclaimed and it done really well and it reviewed well. So Chrono Trigger is next up on the plate, and if they can possibly make this happen, I will love it. Now, when it comes to which route they should go, I don't want a port. I mean, when it comes to ports with Square Enix, they are hit or miss. Most ports, people get upset about how it was mishandled and everything. Now, if they do a remaster similar to, I guess you would say, Crisis Core Reunion, or I guess you would say Trials of Mana remaster / remake or whatever, if they go that route, I'll be completely satisfied with that. But the thing that really caught my interest is that he also brought up a potential direction to do a full-on, highly graphical, high production remake in the vein of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, my personal opinion, it may be controversial to some people, but my personal opinion, I don't think that Chrono needs to go in that direction. I really don't think it needs to go to Final Fantasy VII route. It doesn't. It doesn't need to have this super high fidelity realism or anything like that, especially when you have characters that's in the Toriyama art style. I mean, when you look at Dragon Quest 11, I think that direction they could possibly go. It fits the Toriyama art style as well. But of course, now that we in this current gen of technology, it can look even better while in that style for the art style of Chrono Trigger. And I think that will work really, really well. And besides that, if they do go that remake route of like Final Fantasy VII, you know they're going to add a bunch of filler, a bunch of fluff. And when you think about Chrono himself, he's a silent protagonist. So how would they handle something like that on a scope like that when you have a hero who's silent and don't say much of anything at all? Is it really worth going that route? And then you also got to think about the production and how long it's going to take to even put out a Chrono Trigger game at that level of production. And I think that even though I love Chrono Trigger and it's a cult classic, many people enjoy it, you gotta look at what it is today. A lot of gamers today in this era don't know shit about Chrono Trigger. So is it worth it to go into high production over IP that most gamers today aren't even familiar with, and go all out like that, where opposed to they can do an HD 2D type of remake, which you will see in Alive, which you will also see in Octopath Traveler, and their highly anticipated remake to Dragon Quest 3. They can either go that route, which I would also be okay with. I wouldn't have a problem with replaying it that way, especially if we have new bells and whistles added to it, potentially some voice acting added to it. I would be all for some voice acting added to it, where you have the option to do English or Japanese dub as well. I think that'll also be pretty cool. But the style that I would prefer mostly for a potential Chrono Trigger remake would be if they go the route of Trials of Mana remake. I think they've done a really good job with that, because they took a game that was traditionally a 2D sprite based game on the SNES, and then they did a mid upgrade with the visual art style that they had, but it worked. It was stylized. It worked to its best, and it proved through the sales. And I also covered it in my Mana series video that you can definitely check out, and how it was successful, and it cracked 1 million units sold, something that was never ever accomplished in a Mana game within a series ever before. So I'm more on board of the middle. I would love to see Chrono Trigger done in that style, and as I said before, if we need some type of an example, I think we've already seen it with Dragon Quest 11, and also another Toriyama style game that's also coming out that I think is also pretty cool within that frame of reference, if you ever want to go down a route of a Chrono Trigger remake. But overall, man, if this is going to be able to get spark interest for the Chrono series, which Chrono is such an underrated series, and I would love Chrono series to be an ongoing series like Final Fantasy, where it doesn't need to be tied into past Chrono games, but we can always get different stories within the Chrono universe itself, you know, telling different characters, different time periods. I think that'd be something awesome that they can possibly do. I mean, we did get a remaster to Chrono Cross, and that did exceptionally well, so why not? I think it's a perfect time for them to rebuild their catalog. We talked about in a video in the past about, we had a former manager who worked at Square Enix and said that it would make sense. I think it would work for them to go back and expand their catalog of games, do some AA gaming, and also bring back some of their older IP to expand that catalog of games. And I think that would definitely work, so they don't have to just rely on Final Fantasy and also on Dragon Quest. They can give those franchises more time to breathe and be in longer developments to make the games much more refined. And as we wait for those Final Fantasies and those Dragon Quest games, we can get games like Alive Remake, and we can also get more Nair games, and then of course our potential Chrono Trigger remake. I think that'll be awesome, and that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to see if it ever comes to fruition, because it's been a long time for Chrono to actually shine again. And I think a community and a fan base, or gamers who never grew up to experience this, I think it'd be a perfect time for them to experience this, reintroducing this to a brand new audience. So I'm all for this. So let's see where this goes. I'm definitely going to keep you guys up to date if anything pops up as far as a potential Chrono Trigger remake here on this channel. So if you enjoyed the video, what are your thoughts? Do you think they should remake Chrono Trigger, and what route should they take? Should they take the Final Fantasy VII remake route in development, or the Trials of Mana remake route, or should they do the HD 2D route that you would see in Octopath Traveler? So definitely your thoughts in the comment section below, and what other games would you like to see remade from Square Enix catalog of games of the past. So if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you game fiends later. Peace out.